Hi, good morning, ladies. And good morning to everyone that's tuning in on our Facebook Live. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today to come and participate in this event. This event is put together by the Women's Committee of the American Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to tell the audience that if please say hello to us on our Facebook page and type in any questions that you have for us throughout the show, and we'll take some time to answer those questions. I want to start off first that my name is Kim Tan. I am one of the Board of Governors for American Chamber of Commerce, Cambodia. First, I'd like to briefly share a little bit about the American Chamber of Commerce in Cambodia. And then we'll have each one of you guys introduce yourself. And then we'll go into the topic of interest for today, which is women leaderships in time of crises. And then our audience will be able to ask questions at the end as well.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Very good. The American Chamber of Commerce in Cambodia has been established for 25 years as of this year, with 150 members up to date. We're growing as an organization, and so therefore we'll always continue looking for ways to collaborate, promote, and advocate in the interest of our members. This year, AmCham signed a joint work plan 2021 with the U.S. Embassy Phnom Penh, which was created to align the shared goals of supporting U.S. companies, trading, and investment in Cambodia, strengthening the country's business climate, and advancing the U.S.-Cambodia economic ties. One of the 4 pillars of the joint work plan is supporting Cambodia's female business community. So both AmCham and the embassy are working to increase awareness and to helping address gender disparities faced by Cambodia's women entrepreneurs. So earlier this year, AmCham reactivated its Women's Committee as a way to further support the members. The committee focused on the unique challenges that face women in business and organize events and other activities to foster supportive, inclusive environment to help them succeed. The Women's Committee is vital to the promotion of the business community in Cambodia and remains one of the Chamber's top priorities. We are conducting events that facilitate networking, mentorship, and leadership, such as what we're having today, striving to support women-owned and women-run businesses. The AmCham Women Committee is designed to be inclusive of everyone who wants to enhance the business environment, and we look forward to working with all the stakeholders who wants to contribute to this mission. As of date, we currently have more than 40 women members in the women's group, from all different backgrounds and industries. Okay? Please do reach out to us at the American Chamber office if you're interested in joining as a member and to become a participant in the different groups and activities that we have for today. So don't forget to type in your question. We'll pause throughout the show to answer any questions as well. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so let's get the show started. Today we have an important topic up for discussion, which is women leaderships, women leading in time of crises. I'd like to have each of our speakers, each of you ladies, give us a brief introduction of yourself, how long you've been in Cambodia, and also what organization do you represent. Okay? Ms. Kathryn.
Hi, I'm Kate O'Connell. I've been an educator for 25 years, and 5 of those years have been in Cambodia, working at various international schools. I've just finished a headship at the Giving Tree International School, and I will start at the Australian International School of Phnom Penh in a few days.
Wonderful.
Hi, myself Priti Jitani, and I am from healthcare segment, currently working with We Healthcare Cambodia, and working as a general manager nutraceutical. And I ran an experience of 19 years in the healthcare industry and worked across number of companies and various countries, I could rather say, based out of India then. Now in Phnom Penh since 2018 March, and enjoying my life here, but yes, away from family makes me a little emotional.
I feel you, sister.
Thank you, Priti.
Hi, I'm Sophia Altamirano, and I'm the Cluster Director of Sales and Marketing for Raffles Cambodia. I moved to Cambodia in 2019 to join my husband, who is also based here in Phnom Penh. I am obviously in the hospitality sector for more than 2 decades with Accor Hotels for a long time. Before Cambodia, before Phnom Penh, I was based in Bangkok. Before that, I was based in Jakarta, Indonesia. And before that, I was in Vietnam. And before that, I was in my country, Manila, in the Philippines. So I would say I'm a traveling business nomad. And I look forward to share to all of you my experiences.
Well, thank you so much, ladies. And I'm so glad to have you here, taking time out of your busy schedule to participate in this event. I'm fortunate to have had conversations with each of you, and I believe there's so much to be learned. So I'm super, super excited to have this discussion of this topic today. As you know, and I believe from our chat here and there, we're all very passionate about creating opportunities to empower women, such as using this platform to give women voice, an opportunity to impart their wisdom and help other women to become leaders of tomorrow, and also act as guidance for women that are leading the organization today. Okay. Before we dive into the insights of your leadership, I'd like to share a bit of the context around kind of what started this conversation and kind of got us to wanting to set up a webinar speaking about women in crises. What sparked my curiosity was an article published in the Harvard Business Review, which talks about a study done in the workplace, which read, research, women are better leaders during crises, by Jack Zinner and Joseph Folkman, who were founders of the Zinner Folkman, a leadership development consultancy company based in the US. What tempted the research during the COVID-19 was that there was anecdotally about women leaders doing a better job in handling the crisis. Yeah. There were numbers of cases and death in countries led by women that were a lot less. And then for the states in the US where there were leaders that were females, there were lower fatality rates. So that's what prompted the study. So prior to the study of women in leadership during the COVID-19, the company have access to their own database, and so they went back and analyzed and assessed over 60,000 leaders. 22,600 were for women, yeah, and then about 40,000 plus are male. And it showed that women were rated better as leaders by those who worked with them when compared to the men. And this is prior to the COVID-19. So back to the study, when they conducted the study at the first phase of COVID-19 in the state, it was March to June of 2020. They did a study of 454 men and 366 women on their leadership effectiveness. And the results were consistent, that the female were rated more positive than the male before the COVID crises. And what's quite interesting as well was that during the time that they studied, which was the first phase of COVID-19, was that there was even a greater gap of positive rating for male and female. So to put into perspective, the overall rating of the effectiveness of the leaders between the male and female prior to COVID was 3.3 points difference, and then during the COVID it was 5.7. Yeah, so that's what sparks my interest in wanting to also get you ladies who are leaders in your organization to have this discussion around this topic, and also share about your insights and your philosophy as a leader. Okay. I'd like to share with the audience here, because this article was passed over to our speakers, but the analysis and the ratings were based on 19 competencies of leaderships. I'll share that with you, because you will also be able to hear that being consistent with our speakers here with us today. Those 19 competencies that they were rating the male and female leaderships were: takes initiatives, learning agility, inspires and motivate others, develop others, build relationships, display high integrity and honesty, communicates powerfully and prolifically, collaboration and teamwork, champions change, makes decisions, innovates, solve problems and analyze issues, customer and external focus, drives for results, values diversity, establish stretch goals, develop strategic perspective, technical or professional expertise. This is the only competencies that the male were rated higher than the female, and then takes risks. So everything else that we've just shared now, women were rated higher by those that works with them. Okay. Okay. So with that said, I would like to start off our questions first. To raise up, of course, is about the result of the survey, the findings. I'd like to hear each of your thoughts about the survey. Can you share if you agree with the survey based on your personal experience, why or why not?
Sure, I can go. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. From my experience, the survey matches what I've experienced in international schools and in other organizations. And it also matches the research I've read. And when preparing for this event and talk, I looked up what are the leadership qualities needed in times of crisis to see if they matched the study so that I knew what I was talking about. And one article stated that the qualities needed are agility, that's number 2 on your list, communication and transparency,
True.
That's like number 7, communicates powerfully and proficiently. And then empathy and compassion and shared decision making. So the qualities needed in a crisis and the qualities that women are being rated higher on match. So it matches not only my experience, but it also matches other research. And I think for all of us, we all have an experience as women leaders where we've been told that maybe we're a bit soft. I don't know if you can be a leader, Kate, I've heard, because you're so compassionate, you're so empathetic. And previously, historically, we as women have been told to take on men's characteristic of being strong or aggressive or powering over instead of empowering. And another Harvard Business Review article from April 2020 stated that there were 7 leadership qualities that men could learn from women. And many of those are reflected here.
Interesting.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to share an experience from my when I joined job back in India. Once I got into the system, I came to know I have reached a glass cliff. So I was really surprised, and I really thought, why did they give me this job after interviewing at least 15 other candidates? What was the reason?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's the choice do I have now? That I have already accepted the job, I'm here. And I said, either I can resign or just fight it. So I gave it my chance. I said, let's drive for results. That's because, again, leadership jobs for ladies, I see, are very rarely given to them. They are not offered as easily to ladies compared to the men, and that brings the imbalance in our system, basically. So, as we are known for driving results, I took up the job and I dived into it, and I actually fared quite well, I should say. So, till date, my managing director even calls me up, or the director, the chairman calls me up, where are you? Are you coming back to my company or not? I said, not now, not soon now. So I could rather say the women have the ability to research where they are, or get all the things collected, what is the current situation, what are the resources available, find a solution to it quickly, bring the team together, and then fight for reach the goal. So that ability to do too many things, or a multitasking job, that men are really not good at. So I really appreciate the female gender for that one thing.
I agree as well.
Thank you.
So my side, my take on this is more of a yes and no. And it's a yes and no because in my industry, there are more, I would say, gender-specific roles. let's say in terms of commercial, for example, in the hospitality industry, the head of sales and marketing are mostly female, right? And therefore, that strategic part of a hotel operation is more into female, and that's where you have your learning agility, builds relationships, the troubleshooting part of it, and as what you have pointed out, it's really the multitasking part of the role to bring everyone together as well.
Correct.
Whereby in terms of other roles, let's say a general manager, for example, these are more into the male, you would have more male general managers than female. And I know that our industry has been addressing that, but that's another topic to take. But yeah, so that's my take on this topic.
Okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to touch a little bit about having specific role for gender, based on gender, such as when you mentioned marketing, sales and marketing for female, and then general manager as more towards, for male. For me, I think that's a perception that has long been believed in.
Correct.
That we need to overcome, because I don't believe that this, that as female we couldn't handle the general manager position, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
That there wouldn't be any male out there who wouldn't do just as well in terms of sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So I think that given the opportunity, it shouldn't be based on gender, on the different type of roles, but whether or not they have the capability to do it.
Yes.
So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Can you share some of the ways that you have been able to demonstrate using these competencies in leading your staff?
I can speak on that.
Priti?
So about myself, I am a person who drives a lot to know the person. So I believe in getting to know the person. Till I don't know the person, I will not be comfortable around, and I try to do it as quickly as possible. So when I do that, it brings two things inside me. One, it builds the relationship because I'm trying to dive into his life. Also, this helps me to know what is his strengths and weaknesses, or what is required to make this person grow more. So I quickly analyze that, and what I do is in my staff, for example, my team or my staff, I try to find out what is that this can help this person to lead to the next level. I always keep preparing them for the next level, not just in this company or if they have to go out and find another job. So like either it could be just getting some tutorials of English, so spoken English or written English, like for example in Cambodia I'm talking right now, or it would be taking up classes for making PowerPoint presentations, Excels, making them more analyst, business analyst part of it, or even simply getting my team to learn soft skills, training them for soft skills. So that is one area which I keep pushing them. Also, I try to keep inspiring and motivating them by sharing my personal experiences, past experiences. I was in such a situation, this is how I dealt with it. How would you do it? Sharing with them. So it also motivates and inspires them. So it's all about communication again. So whether you talk about relationship or you talk about your ability to share thoughts, everything comes in the same line. So I have been communicating with my team, been inspiring them and motivating them, developing them for the next level. So that's one thing that I don't leave aside.
Yeah. To add to that, for me, I think our leadership styles do change, right? Depending on the situation, or depending on your organization, and or depending on, the situation that you are in. For me, I always believe that if I teach my team, they will do, I would say 80% of my job already.
Yeah.
So giving them the knowledge, equipping them with the right skill set, and again, not just for that skill set, but for future development, because that's how we continue our legacies, right? That's how you create legacies, by sharing your knowledge and your experiences to your team. And once they are equipped, then they will do the job. And then the rest for us is to manage. So I always believe in development, and I always champion, especially this generation is very different. They all want to have a voice, right? And we need to listen to them. And not only listen, but also take it into heart and take their feedback and show to them that we are doing it. Because it's this generation now is all about authenticity, right? You need to be authentic. You cannot just do lip service. You cannot just say to them, oh, I hear you. But then they will wait whether you're going to do it or not, right? So for me, it's about development. It's about communication, listening, and as well as doing it, showing it to them.
Example.
And that's how you build integrity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kat, anything you want to add?
I think they've mentioned the really key factors: building relationships and empowering your teams, and really communicating prolifically, which are the skills from the survey.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and just hearing, consensus that as a woman, we approach the way we lead our teams through building the relationship first, right? So it's not about the business, it's not about the bottom line, it's not about the operation, but it's about the people first, and then, like Priti said, helping them find the strength and the weakness and be able to help them develop to the next level. So again, all the competencies, that have been rated very positively for female leaders versus our male leaders. Okay, and so what is the one advice or areas of focus that you can give to others leading a team at work or leading the entire organization today? What's the one advice that you can give them?
I can take this one.
Yes, Kat.
So I have advice for leading an organization, leading your team, and leading yourself. So as an educator, I always like to use acronyms so that it's something that you can take away and remember. So my acronym for this one is ACT. And if you are acting, you're in action. It's aligning with your mission and vision. I've just recently taken a course through Harvard Business School. And in this, every course that I've taken in the Certificate for School Leadership and Management has talked about aligning your vision with your mission. Everything you do. So that's number one, that's align. Number two is communicate. In my experience as a head of school, almost every problem that I experienced and learned from after could have been prevented by better communication.
Yes, I agree.
T is for transparency. If we are transparent with what we are doing, we bring the understanding to people so that they know where we can go. And then I would just say to evaluate, as you act, evaluate all your actions to see what is bringing you the results you want and what is bringing you closer to your mission and vision and what isn't. So that's for leading the organization. For leading a team, I suggest moving as much away from cooperation to collaboration as possible. And in the intermediate, if you can't jump from competition to collaboration, look for cooperation as an intermediate stone. And then for every leader out there, one of my mentors is Maxine Driscoll, and she always says you can't lead anyone if you can't lead yourself, so leaders have to take care of themselves. And in a recent webinar, a woman empowerment who empowers women entrepreneurs said, treat yourself like an athlete, because if you can't show up for your team, you can't accomplish your vision and mission. So take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. And those are my 3 pieces of advice for leading in times of crisis.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Just perfect.
I think you wrapped up everything that are going through our mind as well. Priti, would you? Priti, jump in.
So for me, I would, actually she has already covered it, but I'll still say, for me it would be, at any point of time, it would be honesty and integrity. That's one thing which you have to, honest to yourself, honest to the place you're working, the team you're working, because that brings integrity to yourself. That's very, very important. In anything that you do, be honest to yourself, be transparent to yourself, because finally the day when you sit down, you will be answerable only to yourself.
That's right.
Nobody else. So be honest.
Maybe just to add to that, I would say be your authentic self, right? Because as women, we have this tendency to feel,
For everyone.
to be liked,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And therefore, we then disengage to our focus on
Yeah.
being ourselves, because people perceive us in a different way,
Correct.
right? That we need to smile, we
Yeah.
need to do all of these things, right? And that is not our authentic self, if that is not what we want to do, right? And therefore, we would resonate more as leaders if we are our own self. And that's when integrity and trust will come in, I would say.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that is, being authentic self. To Kate's point, is taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? A lot of time, as women, we put a face where we're always smiling and trying to make sure that everyone thinks that we're happy or that we seen as happy. But there's a lot of struggles. There's a lot of times when we're unhappy or when we're stressed out. And I think it's important that we also share that with our team,
Yeah.
Yes.
so they know that it's okay to open up.
That's right.
And that's where the transparent is very, very important. So to get to someone, to build a relationship with someone on an authentic level, we also have to understand that we have to be authentic as well as
Correct.
a leader.
I agree to you, Kim.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time when you worked under a female leader? What were some of the obvious characters you observed and experienced that's impacted you?
So I'll take that one, Kim.
Yeah, Sophia?
So my first job actually in this was in an airline. And my first boss was, in fact, a female. And I would say that I would not be here today if not for her. She had made a huge impact in my life. She was a very, very strong woman. In fact, I would say that a lot of, at the time, agents that we have, they were all avoiding to speak to her because she just speaks her mind out. And that was like more than 20 years ago, can you imagine? And at the time, there is such a perception that when you speak or you have a voice that you are perceived to be aggressive, right? And, but she doesn't mind it, she doesn't care. I don't want to say she doesn't care, but she speaks her mind out. And that's why she is well known to be very good in her craft. I would say that she taught me how to have that voice, and as well as she nurtures me, right? She's a mom. She takes care of me on a professional and a personal level. And I believe that is the difference. There is that nurturing part, which is very obvious in women leadership, and there is that empathy part that resonates to you being a mother as well. I'm also a mother, so I know that she understands what I'm going through, all my struggles, all my learnings, and my development, and that's why, for me, that is very important.
Very good. It's always good to have, I think, someone that we can look up to. But if there happened to be a female in an industry like the airline, right? That's quite important to be a role model. So, and I think we all want to strive for that as leaders within our own industry. So thank you. As a leader, what has been challenging for you leading your people? Can you share some of those?
I can.
Yeah.
As you know, I like acronyms. So I think when you are leading a team, you think of the personalities on the team. That is really what you have to manage. Because leading means you have to influence people. And if you are going to influence people, you have to change their hearts and their minds. So the most difficult personalities I find to work with are C, people that are resistant to change, and P, people who think they always know that they are right, and are resistant in just a very negative way, people who are negative even when positive things happen.
Okay.
So, and I think with the C also, closed-minded people are very difficult to lead. And so I think the solution is something every speaker here has mentioned, and the solution really is building those relationships.
Yeah.
Because if you get to know someone that is closed-minded, resistant, and thinks they always know that they are right, there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
There may be a trauma there, and you can coach that person. You can develop their heart and their mind and find out, are they in the right industry? Are they in the right job? For me, are they at the right school?
Yeah.
Do our vision and mission align? Because when you're leading people, you want to give them a bigger purpose.
Right.
And so I think that the challenge really lies in your ability to create relationships and the skills from the studies, inspiring and motivating others, building relationships, innovating, they all go toward that relationship building. Sophia, you've mentioned authenticity. With authenticity, that's part of creating relationships. So I think the struggle is knowing your staff, and the answer is creating those relationships so you can lead your people's hearts and minds.
Yeah, I think getting buy-ins is very important, right? Otherwise, you cannot just implement.
Yes.
And because the rest, if they don't believe in it, they will not follow anyway.
Correct.
Or they will just execute half-heartedly. So it's very important to get buy-ins. And that's from the top, parallel, and below.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I agree. So, so there was the time when I came here, and the team that I am currently leading was like a very closed team. And I was really surprised at trying to understand what's wrong with them. Why aren't they talking? Everything you ask them, the first answer would be, I don't know. No. I was like, okay. So the first few days of the first month was really tough for me. I was like, take it slow. Then I tried to build individual relations with each one then. And then finally, today, each one of them, if they have even a smallest of doubt in their house, they will come back to me. That's the kind of openness that I have created in this 3.5 years within the team. But it's very, very important to create an openness, transparency, whatever. It's open. When the team is open, the leader can lead very easily,
That's right.
can drive the team. Yeah. Otherwise, it is next to impossible to drive them.
Yeah.
I have some questions from the audience, but I think we've touched on it without reading it. But I just want to acknowledge that we did get the questions from Akara. Good morning. Could you share your experience on how you empower or encourage your people under your supervision to reach their potential?
Yeah.
Actually, I did mention about the development, right? And well, development goes both ways, right? You can teach, but the other person needs to be able to accept that and willingness to learn. Because I've worked in other organizations whereby I'm so happy to train and teach people, however, and for their growth. However, they're not really open to it, right? It's doing a checklist that I've done this training, I've done this mentorship. So development and mentorship should go both ways. That's number one. Second is that reaching a leader's full potential again, is really up to the person, because our role is to cascade our knowledge and experiences and be a model to our team. It's up to them to really take that, because they are their own individual. And they should have their own take on how to adapt that type of leadership quality or experience to their own life.
I could add to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think empowering your staff members requires a leader to be self-reflective so that they understand what are some responsibilities that your team could be doing. And sometimes when you give that responsibility to your team,
Yep.
you are allowing them to succeed, but you're also allowing them to learn from their mistakes.
Yes.
And so I would beg you to ask the question, what are the things that I can give my team to do that makes them feel empowered, makes them feel responsible, brings them into the relationship more fully engaged?
Very good. Question from Lada. What are the common challenges that women in their leadership roles face, and what is your recommendations?
Sure. I think I'm going to refer to Sophia here.
Just
and
be yourself.
an experience I had that's similar to one that she had earlier is being treated in a way that is that puts you down, or when you are in a room full of mixed gendered leadership, and oftentimes you may be the only female in the room, it is quite a challenge when somebody speaks down to you.
Yep.
In my case, I've heard Kate, 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 Kate. You know, somebody wouldn't say, oh, John, 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 John. It's not the way you would be spoken to. So at times, when we are in rooms, we accept behavior that shouldn't be. It's not always an even playing field. Do you
Yes.
want to add to that?
Yes, I totally agree. I've had a lot of those experiences whereby I'm the only female in the room, and it's a bit challenging because you are included or have a place in that table to have a voice, but most of the time you're not expected to have a voice, in fact. Perhaps, ladies, you can help me explaining it further, but you do have an opinion that can be different from the rest of the people on the table. And sometimes, or most of the time, it is not expected from us or from a woman leader, right? To have a very strong opinion on certain topics. But the mere fact that we are on the table, it needs to be accepted that we have a voice and that our opinions do matter.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, true.
Agreed.
So I think to kind of sum up Kat and Sophia's answer to the questions is that, you know, as female, we get to choose what we allowed,
Yes.
how we should be treated. And if you've been invited to a table, you're allowed to speak your opinion.
That's right.
Yeah, you're allowed to have your voice. So don't be afraid to do speak up, because if you happen to be invited to the table and you don't speak up, then
even
that's also not a good reflection of you.
True.
And so
Yes.
then they can say, hey, we brought you onto the table and we
You
don't
did
have
not
anything to
contribute.
share.
Yes.
You don't have your voice.
Yeah.
So my recommendation, you know, agreeing with you both ladies, is that have your own voice, have your own opinion.
Yes.
And I could even go as far as, even if you're not invited to the table, you know,
Raise your hand.
is that as an employee of the company, as a board member, whatever organization you're in, have a voice for something,
Yes.
right? And don't be afraid, you know, to speak up your mind.
Right.
Don't be afraid to say what you want to say, because I can tell you that's the only way to lead.
Yeah.
That's the only way
I
to lead.
agree too.
So thank you so much, Dala, for that question. And I think I have two more here. So because we're live, I want to make sure that we're answering those questions
Yes.
Sure.
rather than
Right.
waiting till the end. From Jassy, hello, could you please give some examples of being unauthentic to yourself? When we only focus more on ourselves, some people may talk at your back or don't like you. So, you know, people
Yeah.
speaking behind you. behind your back. So what should we do?
Does it really matter?
Well, for me, my take on that is that I had this is coming from another female leader, and she was my previous boss, and she was really in the top position, and she said to me that, you know what, and she's the only female again in that level, and she said to me, oh, my boss told me that I am emotional, right, and that is a very negative connotation for a female, that your passion or having a voice is perceived to be being emotional, whereby you're just stating a point or you are stating a case, right? And for me, that is something that we need to really recognize, that it's not about being emotional. It is about having a voice, again, and it's about hearing your opinions, right? I think that's the difference there. There's a huge difference. And this is coming from a male to a female, right? So if a man, let's say, puts up a point there and is very passionate about the topic that they were talking about, you don't say that man is emotional. You will say that man is very passionate about the topic that he's discussing, right? So for me, that is just a very different way of putting things out there.
And I think Jazzy's question was about being authentic.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So if I can add a perspective, you know, if you think about our brains, and we have mirror neurons, and we are often, you know, if somebody's angry across from you, you will feel their anger.
Yes.
If someone is incongruent with their speech and their beliefs, you will feel that incongruence. So I'd like to empower everyone to be their authentic selves, because that will be felt.
Yes.
And there will always, whether you are authentic or inauthentic, there will be people that don't like you. So let's give our authentic selves and have people really not like us for a good reason, instead of not liking us because we are inauthentic.
Yeah, I guess being in a leadership role, we're not here to be liked. We're here to do our jobs.
True. I agree.
And that is being authentic to yourself, right? And being you, whether for a woman leader to wear makeup or not, that is a very, very good example. Be your authentic self. You don't want to wear it, don't, right? You don't have to wear it so to please other people and be likable, because that's a perception of you being a leader, right? So there is this profile that people, I would say, perceive for women leaders. We don't have to be part of that profile, right? We can be ourselves.
Yes, 100%.
And we should be ourselves.
Yeah. So being authentic is being yourself, 100% yourself, where you are comfortable within yourself.
That's
Whether
right.
being in a room or without of women or men, it doesn't matter then. And being very vocal about what you want and what you don't want. For me, I'm like that.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Another question from Onkyo. In leading team, what has been your default response when you're angry or frustrated?
I'm just quiet at that moment.
Me too.
I don't react.
Quiet.
I don't react. I let myself cool down, let things settle, and then, unless it is something which is gone way beyond control, otherwise I'll be quiet. I won't react.
I think when we experience anger, going back to brain research, when we're experiencing anger, our neurons are firing in the amygdala. So the best way, if I can add, to pull yourself out of anger is to be thinking.
Yeah.
And I think one of the male qualities of leadership is sometimes to be self-centered, if I can say that, about themselves as a leader, and a more feminine quality on a continuum would be to be self-reflective and to use that anger to reflect. and ask yourself questions and inquire, what is making me angry about this? Where does this anger come from? And you will pull yourself out of the anger into a really good self-reflection that will lead you to be able to problem solve.
I love that question. I also wanted to answer this question as well. I take a while to absorb information, and it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
So for me, I take that as a strength because that allows me time to think before I even become angry.
Yeah.
But in that split second of thinking, then I can remove myself and said, I don't need to get angry. So being fully aware that you are now getting angry
Yes.
for whatever
Yes.
reason, right?
Yes.
Just being aware of that and then allowing yourself to not take that outward gives you time to like reflect right away and said, oh shoot, I'm getting angry. And then asking, why am I angry about this?
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, reflective, on your emotion and your feeling, rather than compulsively expressing it out at that moment. So that's to answer on cue questions. Thank you so much. Okay, and then I have one more here from Bopa. What is your recommendation for a woman to succeed her leadership journey in balancing self, family, job or business, and society?
Wow.
Handful.
That's
handful,
handful.
yes.
I'd like to add here that you should really know yourself.
Yeah.
And I would be giving this advice to any of you, any of my friends, and even to myself, to really know what the things are that you want to take on so that you can have boundaries, because once you step up into leadership, many opportunities will come to you, or you will want to take on
Right.
many things that will mean that you've taken on too much and you're spread too thin and you can't do any one thing well. So really knowing yourself, and maybe a piece of advice I could give is to have a personal mission statement, or what you stand for, what your goals are, what's your immediate goal and what's your big goal in life, so that you can use that as a lens for decision making about what responsibilities you want to take on, and what great opportunities that you will just need to say no, because that's not aligned with my mission and my vision.
Right.
So maybe in your personal mission statement, you are balanced and you value your time with your family as much as you value your time with your work, as much as you value time with yourself. And so you look at decisions based on, do I have those 3 categories calendared in my time? Does my calendar reflect my
Yeah.
values?
Agree.
To add to that, it's having the sense of purpose, right?
Yes.
And focusing on that. As women, we tend to take on a lot of tasks at the same time, and a lot of responsibilities. For myself, aside from being in this profession, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a cousin, I'm a friend, right? And I do have those responsibilities in any given time, and it's all working out for me, right? But you cannot do everything, right? People expect that you can do everything and deliver. You cannot. It's just not possible. It's more about really focusing on your sense of purpose and what is your priority at that given time. So it guides you. Your inner sense of purpose, it guides you internally on what matters most at this given time, because you cannot just do everything. And that then will lead you to your success. And again, success is different for everyone, right? It can be a success, you're successful because of your profession. You can be successful because of your own calling, I would say. You can be successful as a mother, as a homemaker. It is your own perception of success that then guides you, your internal compass, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, I think understanding your own purpose, having a mission statement for you to really understand all the different parts of your life that are important to you. So if you're a mother, of course your children are very important to you, your
That's right.
family. If you're a leader, it's not just working. You're going to
Yes.
work, clock in for that hours, and then going back home. But as a leader, you're also responsible for so many people in your organization. So that should be an important aspect of your life. And then whatever else I think that you feel is important in your life, you need
Yeah.
to be able to balance it.
Balance.
Right?
Yes.
Balance. And for things that may not be important, figure out if you can do it. And if you can, then just say no.
Say no.
Right?
Yes.
There's setting the boundaries is so important.
True.
And
Saying
Sophia,
no.
you were talking about, how as a female we want to be liked.
Yes.
And so this is where we take on too many things because
Yes.
we don't want to disappoint people. We want to be seen as be capable of doing. And I think as female we are trying very, very hard.
Yes.
We're trying
True.
very, very hard, and sometimes at the sacrifice of our own health.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think just to recap, your wonderful recommendations is, learning to say no, have a boundary, and prioritize.
Yes.
What's important at that moment to get done,
That's right.
and then have a purpose for what you're doing, and don't look at success as defined by someone else.
That's right.
Whatever you're doing, you figure out your own success. What does success mean to you? If you're a stay-at-home mom, what does success mean to
That's
you,
right.
right? If you're a leader, what does success mean to you? If you're going for a cause that you're very passionate about, what does success mean to you? So you define your own success. No one else should and could define that success for you. So, Bopa, thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate it. Okay, so we have so many more questions from the audience, and I want to take on their questions. From Emerald, what point of view do women bring that's advantageous over men in leadership role?
Oh.
Could we go back to the 19 competencies?
Right, right.
I think it is passion to I could say we have more passion to reach or prove ourselves, that because we are already in competition or we just have to work harder, we tend to be more better than them in various ways, whether it's making our team or making ourselves reach the goal that we are looking at in the process of doing it.
Yeah. I think it's on my side is more on our nurturing ability. And then when you have that ability, it's really looking after the development of our teams and development, and more than the team itself, it's a development of that person, because then it is really authentic. I would say it is, you wish that this person be a leader in the future, right? And that makes us, I would say, very different, because we have that willingness. And it's like we sponsor automatically a certain person that we believe in, that they will grow into their own craft or careers.
It could be like shaping up their futures.
Yes.
Yes, shaping up, just like we shape up the children,
That's right.
care the children and nurture the children, we are nurturing the team.
That's right.
And shaping their futures.
I say the same thing. My son is 25 years old and my daughter is 23 years old. So majority of my team members now are in that age range. So it's like having my extended children in my team as well.
Yeah.
And I'd like to just summarize, because I think you guys have said it, but if we look at stereotypical male and female roles, many times men at the top are separated in an office. They wouldn't get down and necessarily go to the bottom and do the work, like picking the trash up off the floor. And many times, I think that's the perspective that women have to offer, is because they don't see themselves, say you're a traditional triangle where the leader's at the top. many women leaders will go to the bottom of the triangle and try to hold it up.
Yeah.
It means when you're going around and you're seeing, I'm sure you both do this in your industries where you're at every level. You don't see yourself as separate and segregated from your people. You see yourself as one of them, and you see yourself as really at the bottom of the base trying to hold it all up. That allows you to have a broader and bigger perspective. And that was something that I read in the research as well, that a lot of times women can hold a bigger and broader perspective of what is happening in the whole company. And from my Harvard courses, what they're asking us to do is to align different systems, because many times the problems in organizations is that systems don't talk to each other.
That system itself, we're also talking about people.
Yes.
Yes.
So when we use the word system, I think automatically we think of technology. But if we look at the organizational chart, that's a system itself,
Yes.
right? Does the top integrate with the rest of the staff at the bottom? So thank you. Very enlightening. Yes, thank you so much. From Soka Hoy, showing our emotions that sometimes lead to crying is considered being weak. How do you control your emotions when the topic is too harsh? Recognizing is one thing, but it is sometimes just very difficult to put into practice. Okay?
I do think this would be context dependent. I'm in an industry that is very heart-centered, which is very human-centered. I'm in the business of education. So at times, when we are talking about children, and it's something that really hits me or is very hard, and I tear up, I think that's appropriate, an appropriate sign of emotion. If I don't have an emotion about a child in a situation of danger, then there might be something wrong with me as a leader in education. But I would ask you guys, in other industries, in pharma and hospitality,
It's actually not considered, it's actually considered a weakness. If you drop a tear or you show out your emotions too much, they always will say that it's wrong.
but do you agree with that? Or-
But I don't agree with that. And I really don't feel there's anything wrong in showing your emotions very openly. It's perfectly okay for me. So, but yes, I have also heard these comments coming on to me that you shouldn't be acting like this. You shouldn't show your emotions. You should be more strong. I said, I am strong, but that doesn't mean that I don't need to show my emotions. That's separate. There are two different aspects of it.
I think for me, through the years, it's more into, I perceive emotions to be as strength. It's not a weakness for
Yes.
me. Being able to show what you feel and allowing your team to also show their emotion is a strength.
Yes.
Not having an emotion in a certain situation, as what Kate mentioned, is for me is a weakness, because you don't empathize, you don't have a feeling. And being a strong leader, it doesn't mean being strong doesn't mean that you don't have any
Yeah,
emotion.
true.
In a very, I would say, adverse event or a certain situation, it is really showing that you have feelings, or you allow your team to share what they feel as well based on a certain situation.
I agree. I think for this question about crying being seen as a weakness, there's a difference between you really being emotional and you can tell you're tearing up and things like that, versus bawling out.
Oh, that's
So I just want to put out there, we don't want to be bawling out.
no.
But this probably from the way we've developed ourselves into the leadership role. This is something that we could also teach our those that we're mentoring, those that works underneath us. Is it's okay to show your emotion,
Yes.
because you can also show your emotion, right?
Yes.
But if you feel that you cannot control it to a point where you're bald, then excuse yourself.
Yes.
Right? Excuse yourself, because those are also very private moments that you
Yeah.
need.
That's right.
Right? but just simply, having this emotion build up and tears are coming, I think that's okay, and that's appropriate, because there are circumstances and situation. Like as a mother, if I was hearing anything about child's endangerment and things like that, I would absolutely tear it up no questions asked, but I wouldn't try to hold that.
Yes.
I wouldn't try to hold that. Why? Why would I do that? But if you need to go into a more, uncontrollable emotionally, then you should definitely excuse
private.
yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with being angry,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
Same.
Same thing, So maybe we could talk about how maybe when male get really angry, right? Like, I don't know, there's this thing where you think about female crying as a weakness. And maybe the angry part is a muscular kind of
Yeah.
Yes.
connotation.
That's
So
right.
think
Correct.
about the male, Same thing for male leaders. If you're getting very upset and very angry, excuse yourself from the table.
Yes.
And then allow yourself to reflect.
Correct.
As
That's
one of
right.
the competencies for
Yeah.
women. Allow yourself to reflect and then be able to come back to the table and
Correct.
and be rational about the topic.
Yeah.
I'd just like to add, if I could, that I read research that intense emotions last for about 90 seconds. And the way we make them last longer is by pushing them down. So if you can give yourself permission and understanding to know that emotions are energy moving through you and that they will pass, might be a strategy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Sarai Veria questioned, how could we calculate the positive impacts of having women in the organization?
Look at the research. Do a 360 assessment of your female leaders.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of studies showing. There was one study, I want to, let me see if I have that. I was not prepared for more of a data statistic numbers. This is talking about woman leaders reduces risk. So we could also look at reduced risk as an impact to the organization. So there is an article about that, where having female leaders reduce your company's risk, whether it's investment risk, financial risk, by quite a lot more than the male leader. They went into saying that, for the female, where we're more cautious. And in a very, very simple example is that we're a little bit more cautious thinking about walking alone at nighttime. Where the male doesn't have to worry about that, doesn't think about that.
Correct.
Right? So that's where our risk mentality comes in. So when we approach something in the organization, we always kind of take a step back
Correct.
and evaluate. Where sometimes males will go in, not evaluating the risk as much. So that was just a very simple example that I thought we
Right.
can all relate.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would be happy to share that article. If you reach out to me, I would be able to share that article and any other articles as well that can help answer your questions. Okay, so let me just make sure that we don't have any more questions. We're actually over our time. So I have a few more questions. I don't know if you ladies would like to wrap up maybe with one last question. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what are some of the practices that leaders in organization can adopt in order to help them increase employees' engagement positively in the workplace?
I can take this one. Okay. So first, I always look at what is the definition of employee engagement. And one definition I found was it is the level of engagement of your emotional and mental connection to your workplace. So how can we build emotional and mental connection to our workplace? I'd like to suggest 3 things, which is beg your employees. No. And B would be building relationships, which we've already covered the strengths of building relationships. It's come up in almost every question, and it's here in the research. The second one is empowering your team. So going back to what we've all been saying throughout the talk here today, about what responsibilities can you give your employees and how can you get to know them, what you were saying, understanding their strengths and their weakness. So building relationships, empowering your teams, and then G, giving your employees a bigger purpose. When I was going into a crisis situation, namely the school closures of 2020, March, one of my female mentors suggested that I gather my people around a bigger purpose, which was getting our IB authorization. And that really works when you bring people together in a crisis around a bigger purpose other than them. So those are my suggestions for increasing employee engagement and getting hearts and minds more securely attached to the workplace.
Anything else?
Well, employee engagement for us is really more, as what Kate had pointed out, is really finding that sense of purpose. Why are we doing this? And again, we are in this crisis situation, and we have rallied our teams and explained to them, why are we doing this? In fact, the hospitality and tourism industry in these pandemic times is very risky for us. But why do we continue to face those risks every day and to do and extend this service? So it's really extending that sense of purpose and explaining the whys of whys in an organization and getting, again, those buy-ins from them.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone that has submitted comments or questions to our speakers. And thank you so much, ladies, for a wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much.
Very interesting and very enlightening. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for your time, and I hope that the ladies have been able to share enough practical advice that you can use and implement in your organization, especially during now where we're, having to deal with COVID-19 on and off in uncertain times such as now. So thank you so much, and that's a wrap for us for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.